Yes, I've been reading about that as well. So hopefully you can tell us a little bit more about that too. But I'd like to hear now about your book that you briefly mentioned at the beginning. I know there's a lot of anticipation in the community for this book. We're all looking forward to reading it. There's a big hype around it. So please tell us about, because you've published another book, as you said, that was more of a textbook recently too. And now this one is more case studies and storytelling. So tell us about both of the books.
Yes, so I made kind of in retrospect, a fortuitous move to try to clear up a lot of the confusion that exists in this field. A lot of people talk about it without experience in it, or significant experience or no experience. A lot of people give up and give talks at meetings and they don't do it. And I find that there's so much confusion and misstatements that despite all my publications and talks, it was just proliferating. So I wrote a medical textbook. I'm the senior editor on it, and I had the pleasure then, and I invited and worked with several other people who've worked in the field, including John Snowden, Dominic Farge, Riccardo Siccardi, and but you need a leading editor to take the charge and focus on it, which I did. It was a lot of work. It's we have 140 authors that are professors, associate professors from around the world. Virtually every continent has contributed to this. A lot of Europeans, some Americans, South America, Brazil, Asia, China, even Australia. So 140 different professors from different universities. It's 686 pages. It came out November 2021, and it's really to help educate people, but it's helping medical professionals, whether you're a nurse or a physician or a researcher, it'll help you to understand this and clear up some of the confusion. And I've even had people, physicians who've worked in the field, write me saying they've read this, it's really helped them. They use it now for giving talks, which is what I wanted. But I also want to reach the lay public, and I'm afraid that medical textbook would pretty much put people in the lay public to sleep. Now, I found that all my patients, including people like you, not trained in medicine per se, are incredibly bright, especially when this disease affects you or a loved one. You read up on it and you know a lot. A lot of times I find that my patients actually know more than doctors who are not specialties in doing this treatment. And it's because they've read, they've studied, they've gone through it, they have their own life experience. It's a lived learning and a passion. So they're very, very good, just like you. But there's so many patients out there that are starting out and they have no clue. So I wanted to write something that would reach them, for them to understand. And the way I decided the best way to do it is just write patient stories. Now, I am trained in medicine that I can never talk about a patient's history. So that was a little hard thing for me to deal with, but the way I dealt with it is I got each patient's permission, and then what I wrote, even though I wrote it, they gave me the information, and then I had them proof what I wrote to make sure they're comfortable with it. I also took all last names out, and I made every first name optional as a pseudonym if they want to protect their privacy. They could use their first name. My recommendation is use a pseudonym, but I respect their decision if they want to use their real first name, but no last names. And the story before it goes in the book, they pre-approved. So I think that's really important, both out of respect to people and for accuracy. And every patient story is incredible. I think the biggest disappointment is I could only have 54 patients. When you do a book like this, I was told by the publishers that, you got to keep it brief or people won't read it. It should be 50,000 words because I wanted to do more. They allowed it to go to 70,300 words, but it had to stop somewhere. So I know there are other stories of other patients that would be even better or just as good. They're not in there. I had to make a cut somewhere. And I feel bad that their story's not in there. I think I may unintentionally hurt some people's feeling that their story isn't there. But
maybe there's room for a sequel.
Yeah, but it's impossible to do that. It's 70,000 words, and the stories of each person is really remarkable. And for me, why it was possible is because for each of those patients, I was the one that evaluated them. It was on my protocol, and I sat at everybody's bedside. I took every patient through, not some hospitalists. It was me myself. And that's a tremendous amount of work, but I learned a lot from them. And you get to know your patient when they're in the hospital 3 weeks. you get to know them and learn their struggles with the system and what they went through and how they were suffering, and then what they're like after transplant. So I wanted to bring these out, and I almost initially was going to call it Profiles in Courage, because it really is the profiles of each of these
Yes,
patients.
yeah.
But I decided to call it Everyday Miracles because of what Kate, my nurse, had said to me. One time a patient asked her, what's it like working with me? And Kate just said, it's an honor. But the patient said to Kate, I bet it's like watching Everyday Miracles. And that stuck with Kate. And she told me that for the title of the book when I was thinking about a title. So that's why I chose Everyday Miracles. And it's really these patients' lived experience. So it personalizes MS, and it personalizes what they went through and how they got better. Because when we write an academic paper, it's a lot of statistics. It's very dry. It's honestly dull. I mean, it's how we have to communicate, and it's important, and we gather a lot of information out of it. But it is basically dull stuff. It doesn't tell the human story. And
Right,
if
yeah.
you can get that out there, that will really impact people in insurance, physicians, patients. It will remove some of the cynicism and criticism of this, because you see what it's doing to people themselves. And in writing those stories, I'm a private person, but I told a little bit about myself, and then how it developed and how I had to change based on results from one trial, why it led to the next trial. So it was really it was on my third trial for MS, modifying it. Before I got the results, I think were good enough to go to a randomized trial, that I did the randomized trial, the fourth trial. So I explain all that in there, and why that is. And I keep going back to the point to get it home. It's patient selection and the conditioning regimen that are the key to this, because a lot of people and a lot of doctors think all stem cells are the same. It's not. It's the conditioning regimen. It would be thinking like all drugs you get for MS are the same. It is not. The toxicity and efficacy depends on the drug. It's the same with the conditioning regimen. And now, I guess my fifth trial for MS that we're running at Scripps is to see if we can make it even safer, even less expensive, and then for other people to be able to move it to an outpatient setting, which would be even more convenient for the patient. And the truth is, if you can do that, it's better, because hospitals are dangerous places. Sick people aggregate there, germs aggregate there. Their medicine is complex. A lot of things can happen. It can start a snowball of errors in which a patient can be injured. And if you can avoid the hospital, all the better.
Sure, of
So
course.
if we can make this even better now and cheaper, that's the goal, and that's what we're looking at Scripps with the two regimens. But either way, you'll get a transplant. But I think what you're doing here is still very good, and it's a good thing to do. It's a different way of approaching studying this further.